Welcome back, everyone, to Vox Markets. My name is Paul Hill, and I'm delighted again to be able to speak to CEO Adam Holland and Group Finance Director Will Wilkins of Mpac, a leading high-speed packaging and automation solutions group serving the healthcare, food and beverage, and clean energy sectors. So, welcome, gents.
Thanks, Paul. Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Perhaps not as good as you guys, because big congrats on today's positive year-end trading update with adjusted PBT breaking through the £10 million barrier for the first time ever. So big pat on the back there. But before we sort of kick through those details, Adam, I don't suppose you could just quickly remind the audience the company's core USPs and the sort of secular growth drivers between supporting sort of high-speed packaging.
Yeah, certainly. So Mpac is a packaging machinery and automation business. We make the machines that our customers use in their factories to assemble and package the products that millions of people around the world depend on every day. We work in the food and beverage sectors, in healthcare, and in a small number of other sort of FMCG sectors. And our business is all about automation. What drives that? Well, it's rising population levels around the world. It's rising levels of GDP, giving rise to a demand of increasing consumer demand. It is labor availability, and of course, if you're trying to staff up factories and you're finding it difficult to find people to work in those factories, automation is always the answer. So every time I read in the newspapers that labour shortages have increased around the world, well, that's always a good news story for us. The technology is also giving new opportunities for automation that probably have never been around before. So when we get to talking about acquisitions, some of that is driven by technology and the opportunities that creates. So it's a very resilient market. It tends to grow a little bit every year. It doesn't decline. If it declines a little bit, it declines a little bit. We don't have enormous jumps in our market. And what Mpac's doing successfully is winning market share. That's what we're driving. We're trying to grow market share in what is a very large market. And we're still a relatively small player. So we've got enormous opportunity in the years ahead.
Yeah. No, I think that the technological change is speeding up, is accelerating. I did listen at the Consumer Electronics Show. You had Jensen Huang, and he was he's the CEO of NVIDIA, which is the generative AI chips, and he was saying the robotics automation industry could be, well over $1 trillion industry fairly soon. So you can see how that technology change is accelerating it. Okay, let's move to the those acquisitions. I don't know, Will, if you want to give us a quick overview of how those are integrating within the business. And obviously, you spent quite a bit of money in the back end and bought three businesses, one headquartered in America, another one in Europe, which is the transformational one, and then another one of the visualization, Sega. So do you want to take us through how the integration is progressing?
Sure, will do. So let's focus on CSI and BCA. They're the two larger acquisitions, and as you say, both at the end of the year. And CSI was at the end of November, so it's still quite early days with CSI, but huge amounts of energy and positivity. Adam and I have both been there this week on site. Really positive team out there, and they're embracing being part of Mpac now as much as we are. So really good progress. The sales teams are working together collaboratively. Lots of referrals of opportunities already starting to feed through to the pipeline. And the sales directors have been together this week, actually, deciding and working through how they will work together in the approach to market as a broader business now. So lots of energy there. It's gaining momentum. We are really pleased with how it's progressing, both from developing the sales synergies and the first steps to identify how we access the cost synergies, especially from CSI. We are really early days still. We've got a dedicated team working on it. It's fully resourced. We've got a clear plan of how we'll access and realise the synergies. And so far, Adam and I couldn't be happy with how it's progressing.
Fantastic. Just on that integration, Adam, one of the first times when we chatted, you said one of the key sort of KPIs for assessing how the business is progressing is attracting top quality, talent, engineers to the actual business, etc. Now you've got a bigger scale. will that enable or facilitate the drawing together of the world's best talent into Mpac?
Yeah, when I'm going to tell a story rather than answer the question. You'll see how it works when we get to the end. When we were looking at CSI in the early days, and it's taken us 18 months to get to this point. It's been a long road to get here. CSI strategy was very clear. They had a really, really good business selling to customers in Europe. They'd done phenomenally well in South America and across the rest of the world. But the US market was a market that they had only just started to sell into a little bit. And increasingly, what they were finding was that customers in the US were looking for CSI to be able to support their products in the field after they delivered a machine into a factory and installed and commissioned it. How could they support that product through the life of a factory's operations? And that's a catch-22 problem, chicken and egg problem. How do you recruit the field service teams to support products if you haven't sold products into that market already? It's not an easy one to solve. That's part of the reason why bringing CSI together with the Langen, the Lambert, and the Switchback businesses, and with BCA and Psychovision, made so much sense to us, because we have a substantial footprint in the US, and we can accelerate CSI's access into the US market because we solved the problems that CSI was finding. That anecdote is true in so many countless segments of our market as we look around the world. And Mpac has changed substantially over the course of 2024. We've ended 2024 as a business of 1,100 people. That gives us a very much more significant footprint in many countries, and importantly with key customers around the world. If you bring together the customer base of BCA, of CSI, of Psychovision, and the Langen, Lambert, and Switchback businesses, all of a sudden you've got a much more diverse customer base and the opportunity to cross-sell in ways that customers really value. And that's what this is all about.
Yeah. And last time we chatted, Adam, when we talked about sort of new products, you took me through sort of like, you've got some really fast new sort of like packaging machines. Astro, I think was one of them, or Ostro.
Yeah.
And then I had a quick look onto the website, and you're also doing some really innovative digital services under the Cube Connect. Is it? Can you just sort of like go through that with for investors, because that's a brilliant. It seems sort of a pretty innovative way of actually servicing a lot of your customers.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to. We've been working really hard on our innovation roadmap. If I go back 2 years ago, 2023, we defined a 5-year roadmap of all of the products we wanted to launch over a 5-year period, the investments that would take, the markets that we were trying to access, the price points we were trying to hit, and so on. And then we couldn't tell anyone because, of course, the moment I want to tell people about a new product is the day we launch it, not 4 years before. In 2024, we had the first launches of products from that roadmap. We launched a new top-load cartoning machine, which we've called Horizon. We launched a new side-load cartoning machine, which you referred to earlier, the Ostro. Ostro is interesting because it's what we did there is we took some of the technology that works in our highest speed horizontal cartoning machines, and we looked at ways to bring that down to a mid-range cartoner, slightly lower speeds than the top end of our product range, and that allows us to then access the kinds of productions that we couldn't do with high-speed cartoning. So bakery is a great example. The bakery sector is expanding enormously worldwide, and it tends to be slightly lower production volumes than some of the things that Mpac has historically gone for. The Ostro was absolutely perfect for those kinds of applications, and the first sales of the Ostro in 2024 were to bakery customers. It was absolutely, it was delightful really to see that strategy really bear out and come to fruition in 2024. The Cube Connect you referred to around our digital service support piece is a piece of work that we've been doing for many, many years. The thinking there is very straightforward. It's about using telemetry to be able to provide real-time data away from the machines, away from a factory, in order to help customers to manage productivity in their factories better. And we've seen the first subscription sales of Cube Connect through 2024. Really happy to see those first subscription sales coming through. It is always going to be a slow start. It doesn't make a massive difference to top line revenues overnight. if you think about the installed base that we have out there in the field already, there are some 4,000 machines from the old Langen, Lambert and Switchback business. You had 2.5 machines from the CSI acquisition, the BCA and so on. All of a sudden, you get a sense of the scale of the equipment that we're already supporting out there in the field around the world. Adding the first subscription models to that installed base makes a small difference to services in the early days, but we do that machine by machine by machine. Over time, digital is going to build up to being a really substantial part of our future. So really pleased to see the progress there. And it's really encouraging to see how Cube Connect can fit together with some of the software solutions that, for example, CSI provide. The More software system is absolutely complementary to what we're doing in Cube Connect. So those two systems, as we bring them together, are going to be really powerful for customers.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit like Neil Armstrong when he said that it's a small step for revenue, but a huge step for customers, because the power of aggregating data across 4,000 machines for benchmarking processes to alert people how they can improve, or previously they thought it was doing well, but how it can improve. That must be huge differentiation for the business.
Yeah, it really is. And if you imagine the change it makes to the level of customer support you can provide, those machines are distributed geographically over quite a large, volume of the Earth or area of the Earth's surface. Being able to dial into a machine remotely and provide instantaneous customer support rather than dispatching a field service engineer, the response rate improves significantly. So it's really exciting. Lots of industries have been on this journey before, and I've been involved in many of those in the past. So we know what the future looks like, and we're going to build it now.
Brilliant. Okay, good. Let's move to the actual financials. Will, if you could just take us through the sort of the key highlights of how you see the close to the year, and also how you see the year ahead.
Sure. So we are right in the middle at the moment, Paul, of closing the complex year end. Obviously, we've got a large new balance sheet dated 1st of December from CSI, which we need to validate, and a closing balance sheet as well. So right in the middle of it, but we're really pleased to be able to report we've hit the market expectations for underlying PBT of 10.5 million this year, heavily supported by a really strong second half. We forecast net margins would be strong in the second half of the year, and again, Mpac has met those expectations. We're coming in above 9% return on sales net margin in the second half, so really pleased with that level of performance. And we closed the year with a conservative estimate of an order book of 111 million, still working through realigning BCA and CSI into Mpac revenue recognition. So that's our conservative estimate, maybe some small upside opportunity there, but that, as it is, gives us a really good level of coverage for revenue in 2025. And if you overlay the recurring service business to that, you can see that we're in a really good place to hit revenue expectations for the year as well. The other point we draw out on the trading update today is relating to net debt, 37 million, slightly above the market or the expectation that was updated following the CSI acquisition. This comes down to timing of accounts receivable collections, and we make reference to this 8 million of receivables. We expected to come in December. The vast majority has now arrived in January, so that's a timing issue over the end of the year. But our modelling supports the view and the forecast that we'll end 2025 with a rapid deleveraging to less than 1x EBITDA. So still on track to deleverage rapidly. That leaves us in a really good place with much enlarged group, elevated level of revenue and profitability for 2025. And as was drawn on the note, we've had a record year in 2024 for revenue, and a record year breaking through the 10 million barrier on the underlying PBT. So it's all positives that we'll be able to update today on.
Yeah, just on that reduction in the net debt then. So I was looking at some of the broker notes. They're sort of projecting the EBITDA roughly around about mid 20s, sort of like 20, 25, 24, something like that. So if you had net debt of 37, that means you're anticipating to generate around about 12 million pound plus of net cash this year. That's about the ballpark, correct?
That is, yeah. It's supported by, we still have a higher level of working capital at the end of 24 than we expect, and then we expect a further unwind during the course of 25. So that in some way helps to support that operating cash flow. But also, a larger group, profitable in large group, the fall through to cash we expect to be strong. So we feel like we're in a good place with that order book, with that unwind of working capital to deleverage rapidly during the course of the year.
Fantastic. Okay, just on that order book, Adam, can you just take us through sort of the quality and the diversity of that particular book? So that's another key area that I know you've been working hard at sort of like diversifying.
Yeah, it is, and it's one of the things that we were very conscious that as we brought this enlarged group together through these acquisitions, we were going to be focused on. Over the last couple of years, we've been working on diversifying the customer base in the Langham, Lambert, and Switchback businesses, winning new customers into the group, and continue to support existing customers. I've always seen those two things as complementary. Our existing customers want us to retain the engineers who know their equipment inside out. The best way of retaining engineers is to keep them really engaged on exciting, challenging projects that they love doing. And winning new customers does exactly that. So it's a win-win for I think, for everybody. With the acquisition of CSI, BCA, and the Psychovision businesses, we bring all these other new customers into the group. So diversifies our customer base. CSI in particular have been very, very successful with their customers over many, many years, winning and retaining those customers and growing a very significant part of their customers' business. And they'd recognise that they also need to start to diversify their customer base and ensure that they're not over dependent, and that their top customer doesn't have any concerns about retention of engineers in the long run either in CSI. I'm really, really pleased with the progress that CSI have made. I think they've done an absolutely fantastic job through 2024 on that journey. We will set out more data when we come back to the market with our full results later in 2025 to set out where CSI got to on that journey. I think it's important to be transparent on that. And we're going to continue to work on it. And whilst I'm touching on those kind of full results, Will talked about the audit process. We are going to go through a really, really high quality audit over the next few months. It's going to take us probably an extra few weeks than normal to close the books with these large acquisitions happening right at the end of the year. So I'm expecting to be back out in the city with an update on full year results, the full roadshow in April, probably a few weeks later than we normally close the books and announce the full results, just so we can go through that process. I think it'd be a 1 year thing. It's an acquisition challenge rather than a routine reset. But I'm really encouraged by what I've seen. The first few weeks of ownership of the CSI, BCA, and Psychovision businesses, really encouraging.
Fabulous. Just a hypothetical question, Adam. Given that we've got the inauguration of Donald Trump on Monday, and he's been sort of threatening to put sort of tariffs on imports from everywhere around the world, particularly sort of Mexico and Canada. Yeah. Just hypothetically, and obviously nobody knows what's actually going to happen and whether it's just a sort of a posturing mechanism. But if he did impose some tariffs, say into Canada and to Mexico, how that might affect sort of like Mpac?
Yeah, Will and I have worked through with the operational teams a very wide range of scenarios to think through what might happen, because I think probably everyone watching today will agree that no one knows what's going to happen. Any statements that have been made by Donald Trump, prior to the inauguration, could be reversed on day 1 or day 20 or day 40. So we've not stuck to a single scenario and said let's plan for a follow through of what's been stated publicly. We've looked at a range of different scenarios, and I really like how robust Mpac now is to respond to that range of different outcomes. If tariffs go up on imports into the US, we now have 2 manufacturing facilities within the US, one in Cleveland and one in Boston. So we're well placed to be able to respond to that. If there is a different scenario unwinding, we have operational sites in Mexico and in Canada that we could use in various different ways. So, and of course in Europe as well. So I'm more interested, I think, in responding to what actually happens than speculating and starting those actions. And I think the worst thing that a business leader could do today is to take an action that might need to be reversed in a few days' time. What my team need, what our customers need, is stability and the knowledge that we're able to respond to any political environment that might come our way. And I think we're in a really good place to be able to do that today. So yeah, I'm interested to see what happens, and we're ready to respond.
Yeah, unfortunately, Donald Trump's modus operandi is to make a big decision and then reverse it the following day. So exactly. We've all got to be on our toes.
That's exactly.
Okay. Just final closing remarks then, Adam. Over the last 6 months, things seems to sort of a bit transformational for the group and move significantly forward.
Yeah, I think there are three things that I reflect on in 2024. The first is we hit our guidance, and that is really important for our investors. The confidence to know that we do that is really important. So delivering that breakthrough profit for the year. The second piece is we're going into 2025 a completely different group from the group that we started 2024. We've doubled the scale of the business, and it's in a strategic way. We've really focused on broadening out the technology offering to customers and giving ourselves cross-sell opportunities that we've never had before. So that's really exciting. And the third piece is we're going into 2025 with an order book that gives us really good coverage for the revenues this year. So, that's a great place to start the year. Yes, there'll be challenges ahead. We've touched on some of those on this call, but we're well placed to deal with them. I'm really about what 25 is going to bring.
Brilliant. Okay, great. Well, thanks very much, guys. I know you've got a busy next few months, particularly Will. He's got to be doing 4 months of auditing, I think. But anyway, thanks again, guys. Terrific comments and well done on the trading update.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.